Are you all ready to go? Izuku was standing outside the gates of the house, where him, All Might, in skinny form, Mina, Yonda, Yami, Amai, and Kyoku. With All Might's car, the Hercules parked right next to them. They each had little book bags, filled with snacks and other supplies they may need, as well as first aid kits because Izuku was just that paranoid. Speaking of Izuku's paranoia, they also all had several tracking devices on them, meaning that Izuku would know where they were at all times. Yes, Daddy. Kyoku nodded. I'm prepared, Father. Yonda said. I'm ready, Mr. Midoriya. Amai answered with a bright smile. Yami nodded. Yonda, you have your hearing dampers? Izuku asked her. Of course, Father. Yonda tilted her head to the side, so that way Izuku could see the devices in her ears. Yonda's hearing dampers acted kind of like reverse hearing aids, or earmuffs. They limited the range in which Yonda could hear people's thoughts. It helped keep Yonda from going insane in large crowds of people. We'll take great care of them, sir. Mina said playfully, giving him a thumbs up. None of them will come in harm's way, you have my word. All Might, or rather, Yagi said. I'm trusting the two of you, please, don't disappoint me, Izuku asked/begged them. Don't worry, it's bad for your health, Mina told him, putting an arm on his shoulder and causing him to flinch. I'll protect these kids with my life. Izuku gave her a small smile. From what he knew of Mina, he could tell she meant that. Thank you. Alright, come on kids, we have much to see, Yagi said as he got into the driver's seat. Mina went into the passenger seat, and all the kids started climbing into the car. Kyoku was the last to go in, looking extremely hesitant. Izuku went over and put a hand on her shoulder and gave her a reassuring smile. Hey, don't be scared. It's only for a few hours. At the end of the day, you'll be coming right back home. To your family. Kyoku gave a small, tenuous smile, before turning back towards the car and hopping in. Bye, Daddy. I'll see you when I get back. Izuku waved goodbye as the doors closed, and the car took off. XXXXXXXXXXXXX. Despite the supposed purpose of this trip being so that Yami could replenish his negativity reserves, they didn't really plan on going anywhere full of negativity. It was more a day trip than a supply run, if you could call negative emotions supplies. Because Yami could likely replenish his supplies enough by just being around people. And so their first stop was to get some breakfast. And of course, seeing as the person who was driving them was All Might, you could guess that they were in for some good old-fashioned American breakfast, at an American-style diner. So this is an American-style restaurant, Amai said, looking around as all of them sat in a booth, with menus already on the table. It's really cozy. It does have a very warm feeling to it. Yonda said as she looked through the menus. By the way, who's paying? That would be me, Yagi said with a smile. I have quite a good amount of money stashed away, so feel free to indulge to your heart's desires. Yonda and Yami looked at each other for a second, before looking back at the menu intensely. You know, I wonder what it'd be like, living in America, Amai said absent-mindedly as she looked over the food options. Yeah, imagine how different you'd be, growing up in a whole different county, Mina added. I don't imagine any of you would be too different, Yagi said, before sparing a glance over to the Midoriya children. Well actually, you three would likely be very different because there is no Midoriya Foundation in America. But that aside, I doubt growing up in America would turn you into a completely different person. It sounds like you've been to America, Mr. Yagi. Amai pointed out. I have. I studied abroad there for quite some time. Yagi explained. It was a very educational experience. And I quite enjoyed my time there. Interesting. What was it like? Yonda asked, sounding slightly curious. Well, it's a very different place. It's big, much bigger than Japan, and every different state has a different culture and different way of doing things. Yagi explained. It can almost feel like each state is a different country at times. But all of them are bound by the same, American spirit. But regardless of how different they seem on the outside, we're all still the same on the inside. And even though I was born and raised in Japan, a year into my studies, no one could tell the difference between myself and them. Yep. People are all the same, Kyoka thought. Except for Dad. And Achiko. And my siblings. But the rest of them are the same. It was at this time the waitress came. Good morning everyone, do you have your orders ready? One of everything, Yami said almost immediately. Huh. Everyone gave Yami a look of pure shock, including the waitress, who almost dropped her notepad. One of everything, Yami repeated, his expression nor tone changing, as he waved his hand over the entire menu. Young Yami, I know I said you could have whatever you wanted, but it's not good to waste food, Yagi told him. Not waste. Eating it all. Yami said. One of everything. Surely, you can't possibly eat one of everything on this menu. There is quite a large amount of food items here. Yagi pointed out, holding up the menu to exemplify his point. One of everything. Yami repeated, not backing down. The two stared at each other for a few seconds, before Yagi caved. Well, I suppose we can't just pack up whatever leftovers remain. One of everything for him then. One of everything thing for him then. The waitress said, getting over her shock and writing that down, before looking back up at everyone. And, the rest of you? I would like the gold dust, strawberry, and cinnamon pancakes, please. Yonda said, causing the waitress to jump at suddenly hearing a voice in her head. My apologies, young Yonda here can only speak using her quirk. Yagi quickly explained. It's not something she can help. I see. Once again the waitress quickly got over her shock and wrote down the order. So that's one gold dust strawberry and cinnamon pancakes. Sir. You are aware that this is going to be very expensive. Like, very very expensive, right? Trust me, I have more than enough money to pay for this. All Might chuckled. Although I will perhaps need to bring it up to their father that when I offered to pay, they decided to make their orders as expensive as possible. You're the one who said order our here's desires. It's not my fault I like nice things. Yonda defended herself, crossing her arms and giving a cute pout. Yeah, come on Mr. Yagi, you can't say something like that, and then get upset when they pull something like this, Mina added, playfully nudging him with her elbow. I'm only kidding. Yagi laughed. It just took me a bit off guard is all. You're telling me, these kids are merciless. The waitress thought, and Yonda gave her a partially offended look, that the waitress didn't catch. I'd like some eggs and bacon please. Mina asked. Alright, and eggs and bacon, and how would you like the eggs? The waitress asked. Sunny side up. Mina answered. Alright, and anything for the other two kids? The waitress asked. Yonda ordered gold dust strawberry pancakes. What are those? Amai asked. It's a stack of 3 pancakes, covered in a strawberry cinnamon syrup, and then sprinkled with bits of gold. The waitress explained. And the only people who waste money on it, are people who never had to work for anything in their life. Yonda tried not to glare at the woman for that thought. What does gold taste like? Amai wondered, with a look of awe on her face. Who knows? Why don't you find out? Yonda asked, wanting her to order it just to spite the waitress. Is that really okay, Mr. Yagi? Amai didn't know how much that cost, but she would guess that anything with gold on it would be very expensive. It's fine. This may be the only time you get to experience this, so take the opportunity while you can. Yagi advised her. Okay. I'd like gold dust strawberry pancakes, eggs sunny side up with bacon, hash browns, and French toast, Amai ordered. Where are you gonna put that? Thought everyone as they looked at Amai in shock. Except for Yami who was unfazed. I see, another order of gold dust strawberry pancakes, another order of sunny side up eggs and bacon, an order of hash browns, and an order of French toast. The waitress wrote all that down. Alright, anything for the other little lady? Chocolate chip pancakes. Kyoku ordered. And that's all? The waitress was honestly more surprised she didn't order something crazy. Yes. Kyoku answered curtly. Alright, 1 order of chocolate chip pancakes. The waitress jotted that down. And lastly anything for your grandfather. Yagi held his jaw shut to keep blood from shooting out of his mouth. Grandfather. I know I'm not as young as I used to be, but do I really look that old? Yonda gave him a funny look, and Yagi didn't quite understand what it meant. Well, I'll have some waffles and a coffee. DK. Yagi ordered. You sure about that? The waitress asked raising an eyebrow. I could not deal with a bunch of rich brats with caffeine. Yonda rolled her eyes. Quite sure, caffeine doesn't really mix well with my current condition. Yagi laughed. Oh, that makes sense. The waitress said as she jotted his order down. Poor old man. Has to deal with health issues on top of all this bullshit. Okay, then how about drinks? Hand-squeezed lemonade. Yami and Yonda said at the same time, immediately getting the most expensive thing on the menu. Orange juice. Kyoku ordered. Water, Amai ordered. With lots of ice. Pepsi, Mina ordered. Really young Ashido? A soda first thing in the morning? Not sure your parents would approve. Yagi said. Mina stuck out her tongue at him. Alright, if that's all I'll go get your order ready, it's gonna take a while though. The waitress said, looking at Yami. That's fine, we're in no rush, Yagi said. With that, the waitress very quickly left their table. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX else. Turns out Yami had ordered so much food that there wasn't even space for everyone else's order. So they stuck him in a separate booth and had all his food on the table in front of him, as well as some on some smaller tables next to him. Amai was with him in that booth with her own food, as Yami had conceded to needing some help finishing everything. And they were determined to leave no leftovers. Seriously, where does it all go? Mina said as she watched the two of them destroy their food, while she slowly ate some of her own. Well, he did grow up in the woods eating raw meat, so it makes sense that young Yami would appreciate food like this, Yagi said as he sipped his coffee. That makes sense, but man did not take that girl for a heavy eater, Mina noted, before she noticed Kyoku making a peculiar expression. That being she was actually smiling. It's not that Kyoku never smiled, it's just she didn't smile around Mina or her classmates, so she rarely ever saw it. Kyoku was thoroughly enjoying her pancakes, eating them slowly, and savoring every single bite. Kyoku loved chocolate. And she quite enjoyed pancakes as well. And while this wasn't the first time she had the combination of the two, that didn't make the experience any less euphoric. For a minute, she forgot that she was outside, surrounded by unknown people. Wah! But only for a minute. Everyone looked to a nearby booth, and saw a very young boy, sitting with his parents, crying his eyes out. I want that. The child cried, pointing to all the food Yami and Amai were eating. I want that. Son, you couldn't eat all that. His father said. I'm not sure how they can eat all that. Yes, I can. I want it. The child demanded. The child continued to cry, making unreasonable demands the entire time. Kyoka stared at the child and their family clenched her fork tightly, and Yonda paid very close attention to Kyoka's thoughts. Just shut up. She heard Kyoka think. Not now, Kyoku. I'm busy. Yonda heard another voice in Kyoka's head. A voice that she assumed was her original father's voice. But I'm hungry. She heard another voice, this time sounding like an even younger Kyoku. Yonda had to really focus in. She assumed what she was hearing was a memory. And memories could be rather tricky to listen to for multiple reasons. The main reason was she couldn't see what was happening, only hear. And memories, unlike Kyoku herself, Yonda could only hear the parts of a memory that the person was actively thinking about, meaning she often didn't get the full picture. Daddy, I'm so hungry it hurts. She heard the younger Kyoku say. I'll feed you when I'm done. Just go away. Her father shouted. Mommy, can I please have some food? She heard the young Kyoku ask. Ask your father. She heard now a more mature female voice, which she assumed was her mother, said dismissively. But he said little Kyoku got cut off. Look, Mommy has stuff to do, so if you want food, ask your father. Her mother said, sounding very annoyed. But once again poor little Kyoku got cut off. I said ask your father. Make me repeat myself again, and you won't be getting any food for the rest of the day. Her mother told her. Just tell him to shut up. Kyoka thought, seemingly out of her flashback. Scream. Yell. Threaten him. You can't be like him. You can't. You can't be like him? Interesting. Yonda thought. Meanwhile, Yami had noticed the significant increase in Kyoku's negative emotions and took a good long look at her. Anger was the most prominent emotion, and it made the most sense. That crying was really annoying. But, he was also picking up a good amount of sadness, fear, and envy. All of which confused him. He knew this was going to be difficult. Hence why he asked Yonda to come along. Hopefully, with their combined information, they could fully understand Kyoku. Eventually, the parents convinced their kid to stop, but Kyoku continued to glare at the family. Yonda and Yami weren't the only people to notice Kyoku's change in mood. Mina had also noticed and planned on doing something about it. Hey, Kyoku, your pancakes are gonna get cold if you don't start eating them again. Mina reminded her. That did the trick at breaking Kyoku out of her one-sided staring contested, as her eyes widened, and she quickly took another bite of her food. Yami could see the negative emotions die down significantly, although her mood was still much worse than it was previously. Hey, so you really like chocolate, huh? Mina asked Kyoku. I heard that Sato's triple chocolate cake is absolutely to die for. And as someone who's tasted his brownies before, I can confidently say, that man knows his chocolate. Really? Kyoku was now hooked, having seemingly forgotten about the earlier incident, as she and Mina got into a discussion about chocolate. Damn it, I was getting good info. Yonda thought, giving Mina a brief glare. She couldn't really blame Mina for, well, making her sister, not as miserable, but she was impeding her goals a bit, as now Kyoku's thoughts were filled with chocolate instead of anything useful. Yonda, her emotions were strange. She heard Yami think. She didn't look back though. She didn't want things to seem suspicious. We need to talk. Soon. She gave him a secret thumbs up before making her move. Excuse me, I need to use the bathroom. Yonda then got up and went towards the bathroom, giving Yami a look that indicated she wanted him to follow. Me too, Yami said, before quickly heading off in the same direction. XXXXXXXXXXXXX. Are you sure we should be talking in here? Yami asked her, as they both stood in the men's bathroom. It's fine. Yonda rolled her eyes. Trust me, no one will bother us here. As if on cue, a man suddenly walked into the bathroom and saw them. He opened his mouth to tell Yonda she shouldn't be here, but Yonda gave him a glare and told him, "Get out or I'll tell your date about body pillow collection." The man's face turned white in fear for a second before he immediately turned around and left. Yonda smirked and turned back to Yami. I like to keep track of useful information I find in people's minds. Like that. You know, in case it becomes useful. That sounds kind of evil but okay. Yami thought. Moving on, you said her emotions were weird? What does that mean? Yonda asked. Right. She mostly angry when boy cried. But also there was sad. And fear. And jealous. Yami explained. Huh, well, I can understand the anger. Be glad you can't hear that kid's thoughts. I promise you it was more annoying than his crying, but aside from that, she was also reliving some really bad memories about her parents. Which is probably also where the fear and sadness come from, but jealousy. Are you sure? Yonda asked him. Yami nodded. Jealousy is easy to see. It's very green, but sick green, like vomit. It looks gross. Still, why would she be feeling jealous? Yonda thought about it for a moment. Unless she was jealous about the parents being nice. But she has a nice dad now. Izuku's great. Better than those two ever could be. So what is she jealous of? We need more information, Yami thought. That much is clear, although that pink idiot is gonna make things difficult. Yonda scowled. She's great at cheering people up. You don't like her much, Yami pointed out. It's not that I don't like her, it's that I don't like stupid people, Yonda admitted. They never think, so it's hard for me to understand them. Not her fault, Yami told her. I know. It's just frustrating. It's a reminder that I'm actually deaf. Yonda sighed. Anyway, we'll need to keep a close eye on her. So stay focused. Don't let food or your little girlfriend distract you. Not girlfriend, but okay. Yami responded. She will be one day. Because she is definitely developing a crush on you, and you're definitely not getting anyone better. Not because you're a bad person, but because you look like a monster. Yonda was not afraid of hurting Yami's feelings here because, as someone who could read thoughts, she knew perfectly well that these kinds of comments did not affect Yami at all. He had pretty thick skin when it came to this kind of stuff. Seriously, she's pretty, and she has a good personality? Do you have any idea how rare that is? Tell her you're learning how to cook, and get that relationship in the bag. No, Yami told her. Any more useful information? Well, she did think something odd. They can't be like him. That's what she was thinking. Yonda told him. I don't know what it means at the moment, but with more time, I'm confident we can figure it out. Right. Nothing else? Yami asked. Nope. Yonda told him. With his business done, Yami proceeded to walk past her out of the bathroom, intent on finishing his meal. Yonda sighed and shook her head. This is going to be a very long day.